into it. So let's get into the next segment here. Of should Drew Lock start over Daniel Jones? And to me, again, I get the frustration with Daniel Jones. I truly do. I'm frustrated with him. Hell, I'm really am. Like, this is the if you're not frustrated, you're not a Giant fan. Let's be very frank with you. The way things are going.
Yeah.
You have to be frustrated. This is a team that we're used to seeing them win. And not necessarily be the stellar elite team every single year in, year out. Don't get me wrong. We've seen plenty of bad years. You know, those of us who were old enough to remember the Dave Brown years and all the 90s, we've been through that. We've been through this latest stretch, obviously, now as well. Those a little older than us, you know, we would, you know, you guys remember the 70s and all before Parcells got there when the team was horrible. To be very frank, horrible.
Yes.
60s and 70s was not a good time for Giant fandom.
And you're probably putting it nicely if you're saying horrible.
Yeah. I mean, like, we were like the Browns at that time period, basically.
Pretty much.
Not the Browns of now.
No.
But, you know, Daniel Jones, to me, is a better, again, assuming he's healthy, that's the big caveat here, is a better quarterback that gives you a better chance to win. And again, it's not that we think Daniel Jones is that good, guys. It's that Drew Lock is that bad. It's like winning by default. It's like, I'm going to give you a piece of cat poop on one plate, and I'm going to give you a nice steak in the other. And I say nice, but you're going to bite into it and realize it doesn't taste that good, but at least it doesn't taste like shit.
Yeah, I mean, is hamburger helper that much better than cat poop?
Yes. Have you ever had cat poop?
Well, at one time.
Drunken party, but I mean, like I said, that's what I think people don't seem to recognize. And I get it. Whenever you're a struggling team, on offense especially, obviously, you know who the most popular guy in town is?
The new guy.
The backup. Because you've seen Daniel Jones struggle. You've seen the issues. You haven't seen this Drew Lock guy yet, what he can do. I urge you to go back and watch the tape of what he can do. For us, you'll be rooting for Daniel Jones to be healthy.
Correct. I agree with you. But just to play devil's advocate, he gets drafted by the Broncos.
Who, Daniel Jones?
No, Lock.
Okay, yes. I thought you were doing a reverse, like, is it the
No, just play devil's advocate. Like,
okay, I got you. Here we go. I'm Al Pacino. Al Pacino.
Where's my Duncan? But who was the coach for the Broncos then? How good were the Broncos in 2019?
Can I be Keanu Reeves instead? He's more likable.
No.
Plus, and that's
you could argue by doing
Charlize Theron.
There you go. As long as you, yeah. Anyway,
but
it's not like he had a lot of opportunity to succeed. And then, like you said, he didn't do good with a bad team. Goes to the Seahawks, where Sneaky Pete is Sneaky Pete. Like, love him or hate him. He gets in there, like, he makes the best of players. So, like, he saw something in Andrew Luck that, you know, a lot of people didn't. And they seem to, like, be able to make average quarterbacks look better. Is it just their quarterback coach? Is it their offensive line coach being able to keep their quarterback upright? Like, there's a lot of things that there's potential of having them now.
They also had weapons. But they had weapons that when he got there. Okay, again, I understand this is a Giants podcast. People might not be as familiar with the Broncos stuff. So, you know, I have no problem looking it up because I don't pretend that I know every single roster from 2019, guys. I wish I did. I wish I had that kind of memory. Cortland Sutton that year had 1,100 yards receiving. He was a number one in the making at that point. He was what he was considered. He didn't quite reach that plateau, but this was that year. We're like, okay, he's got something here. Noah Fant, 562 yards in the season.
Tight end.
Yeah. So you got a tight end. That's a legit security blanket.
That was his rookie year too, I believe, as well.
I think it was. I think he was. I think he was only 22 that year. So yeah, he is. That was his rookie year. So yeah, that was his rookie year. So he was I'm trying to see where he was their first round pick that year. Noah Fant was.
Yeah.
Drew Lock was their second. So, but anyway, what I'm saying is you got a top flight receiver that year. 1,100 yards is a damn good season, guys. If we get that at a Malik Neighbors, you'll be freaking ecstatic, everybody. Let's be very frank on that. You go ahead and you have Noah Fant. You have Emmanuel Sanders as your second receiver, who was a damn good receiver. Granted, this was towards the end of his career. He was 32 years old at the time. You know, the Broncos somehow always figured a way to have a running game. That's just their way. Philip Lindsay had 1,000 yards. Royce Freeman had almost 500 yards. Like, they had tools around him. And he still did not succeed in Denver.
Who was the quarterback prior to the Lock?
Joe Flacco. Wacko Flacco.
Oh, that's right. And who was there before Flacco?
I'd have to look it up now. You make me look up 2018. Previous season. Let's go. We're going to do it. Previous season, the quarterback was Case Keenum.
All right, never mind. That totally just goes away from my point. I was going to Payton was well retired.
Yeah,
Case Keenum was way gone. Bridge. Yeah, never mind.
Now that year they had Emmanuel Sanders, Cortland Sutton, Demaryius Thomas. They still had a lot of the guys from the Peyton era, but like I said, they went away. Demaryius Thomas went away after that. But
I was trying to say, like, there's a lot of hangover. A lot of these guys are older from when Peyton Manning was there.
But the whole point we're trying to make here is the cupboard wasn't bare in Denver, and he couldn't hold down the job. He goes to Seattle, and granted, he had 2 games. I'm not going to bust him on the 2 games at that point there. 2 games is nothing. We're going to talk about something a little bit that I'm going to make a scenario. If we take these 2 games out kind of scenario, because he had 2 really bad games. But, you look at what's going on in Seattle, again, a team that was at times playing very well, had good receivers, developing young offensive line that wasn't nearly as bad as what Daniel Jones has dealt with. And
no, because the secondary, their replacements for that line, because I want to say at one point 4 of the 5 guys on that line were out.
Yeah,
in rotation, and
they still play better.
They're backups,
yeah. But I'm just saying, I feel like this is a guy who's gotten his chances in the league and shown he's not it. I mean he's not somebody who should ever start unless it's a spot start because the quarterback got injured. Like, he's the kind of backup you have that if your starting quarterback goes out for the year, you look at other options. And I hate to be down on the guy. Like, he's a Giant. I want to root for him. And if he starts, listen, I'll be rooting to be wrong more than anybody else, guys. I just feel like Daniel Jones has the potential to be an average quarterback in this league. Never great, an average.
The next Kirk
he
Cousins.
was in 22. Not even Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins is the only reason I don't want to make that comparison.
I'm saying that's his ceiling.
Well, here's what I'm saying. The only reason I don't want to make that comparison is Kirk Cousins has a much better arm than he does. Kirk Cousins' issues are not the regular season. The fact that he's just not a winner. He gets everything else but the winning.
I'm going to dispute a little bit the long arm. We haven't seen the long arm in Danny Jones in a couple of years. We forget his rookie year. He threw a lot of deep balls.
But what I'm saying is, until he shows that he's a guy who can do 4,000, 4,500 yards in a season, I'm not going to put that comparison on him. But he is a guy who will put up some numbers potentially, and also throw in the mobility factor that Kirk Cousins doesn't have.
I mean, listen, Kirk Cousins, when he got drafted by, at the time, the Washington, formerly known as
the Skins.
The name that we're going to call them. Yes, the Skins.
We'll call them the Skins.
He didn't have the best start either, but he reached the ceiling. I think that's Daniel Jones's ceiling. I'm saying that's where he's going to hit.
Yeah,
ceiling.
I don't think he's as good as Kirk Cousins.
I'm not saying his ceiling.
I think he's got more clutch than Kirk Cousins does. That's the weird part.
Yeah.
Though, when they fought each other in that playoff game,
he won.
Daniel Jones made the moves he had to make when he made the moves he had to make. Kirk Cousins was on a fourth down, throws the ball short of the yardage marker. Like, what the frick are you doing? You're better off Hail Marrying at that point. Unless you're Jalen Hurts, because you can't throw a Hail Mary. But yeah. Like I said, I just
great Hail Marys.
I think people are so desperate for a quarterback that's not Daniel Jones. That's what the mentality is they're going into now, is that this guy isn't Daniel Jones, he must be better. Because
when we say he's average,
Daniel Jones.
When you say a guy's average, you put him right in the middle of the pack. That means there's 15 worse or 15 better, give or take. When he's like just below average, there's probably about another 8 guys worse.
Well, let's see. Now here's what I'm saying. I got right now the rushing stats still, because I looked them up for the Seahawks thing. So let's go quick here and see Daniel Jones better or worse, potentially. Let's do it this way. Who has a guaranteed better quarterback than Daniel Jones? Let's do it that way. Fair? That where
okay.
Because there's people that could be better, could be worse, depending on some variables, obviously. So Lamar Jackson, better.
Yes.
Right? The Bears, Caleb Williams, probably better. We don't know. I can't put him as a definite until he does it.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy, better. Kyler Murray, better. Jared Goff, better.
Yeah.
Tua, better. Josh Allen, better. Jalen Hurts, hate to say it, better.
But let's also be real too. Like let's go back to Goff.
This is not looking good.
Because Goff,
it's
not looking good. But that's also make the point. But you're making my point. So let's keep going.
I'm just saying. I don't want to go too much on the individuals in these things, just because that will be like 5 hours on here.
Correct. But when I say average, right? Again. When you say he's average, that means there's 15 better. So
yeah, part of the problem is we're going top of the rushing, which means they're better offense. Like if I go to the bottom here at this point of this list, then you got Baker Mayfield. I can't say he's that much better or better.
I can't say
the Bengals.
Worse.
Joe Burrow's obviously better. Aiden McConnell, or the porn stash himself in Las Vegas. Daniel Jones could be better. The Vikings, JJ McCarthy, we don't know. Geno Smith. Listen, Geno Smith's a better passer, but Daniel Jones with his legs at that point puts as much yards up at that point that Geno could put up. He had, except the 1 year, 2 years ago. Commanders, we don't know what Jaden Daniels is. Patriots, we don't know what Drake May is. Chargers, Justin Herbert's better. Trevor's better in Jacksonville. CJ's better in Houston. Aaron Rodgers is better in there. Derek Carr, I could sit there and say Daniel Jones is just as good, if not better, than Derek Carr.
Yeah,
if he's healthy. The little guy himself in Carolina. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If you go through these teams, guys, it's not as obvious as it is. Like, I think that's the problem, is we're so stuck in the last year's Daniel Jones. I really think that's a lot of the problem. And I get why. It's what you've seen last. It's kind of like if anybody listening or watching has ever been a salesperson, you're as good as your last.
What have you done for me last?
And that's where we're at.
You're as good as your last.
And again, I don't want Daniel Jones here long term, guys. I cannot stress that enough. I do not want him here long term. But I'm not in such a rush to change out for him that we end up with a worse quarterback. Because that's what we're going to end up if we get a guy like Drew Lock here as your starting quarterback.
Yes, good thing you said that, because I was about to say, because Lock is here. But is he the Lock to start? Time will tell.
He's locked to sit in the bench.
Yeah.
Unless Daniel Jones gets hurt. then for a couple games, I could take it. And as always, Giant fans,
go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.